Welcome back to The Square. I am your host, Curtis the Fifth.
And I'm Curtis the Fourth.
And week one is upon us. This is Wednesday, the day before the season kicks off. So still no football in our systems outside of Clemson and Georgia playing a horrible game last Saturday. Don't know. You didn't catch any college football last week.
Zero.
Yeah. Wasn't anything to
Wait a minute.
talk about anyway.
Did Minnesota play
Minnesota
Ohio
played
State,
Ohio
right?
State.
Was that last week?
Yeah, Minnesota played a very good first half. Running back blew out his Achilles, I think, and completely fell up. Minnesota completely fell apart in the second half, and Ohio State got the win. So
That was the one game that I got to catch some highlights. Other than that, no.
Yeah.
Zero.
I mean, how was Minnesota? They were looking good to first half, and then just damn.
Man, if it was only two quarters of football, boy, we would have had them.
Yeah, honestly, they actually were they were beating up on them. Ohio State didn't look like they know how to respond.
They woke up and now they're gonna get on with their season, and that'll be that.
Keep it moving.
Right.
Big Ten, get out of the way. Ohio State is here to stay. No, so let's talk NFL football, though. We've got a lot to get to today as we're going to preview week one. We'll talk about some key storylines. We'll update the power rankings just ahead of the season here. And we will talk about some key games and make some game picks. So all fun stuff to get to. But we are going to kick things off with big storylines going into week one. Really, I only have two key things to talk about. FanDuel and other sports books put out their kind of season awards odds, so we'll get into that in a second here. But the first thing I want to talk about is the possibility that COVID might play a bigger role this season than it even did back in 2020. Your thoughts on that?
Just by what we have been developing, the stories that have been the COVID stories that have been coming out, and this, the new rulings that have been coming down for, vaccinations versus not being vaccinated, and what the rule, what the penalty can be for that, but the ramifications of, you got player A who doesn't want to, strong beliefs. I'm not putting that in my body, blah, blah, blah. I show up to work, blah, but if you give COVID and you put everybody else at risk, I mean, it can get to, the severity can go as far as almost a forfeited game, which we have not seen yet in the NFL. And I mean, man, we were really towing that line last year.
Yeah.
And
Tennessee already had another outbreak, and they were the ones who started it all last season. So,
and it's all based. But now we're a year removed. There's vaccinations. They're talking on the booster shot. We've gotten so much further in the process, and now, but yet people are still like, and that's, I get it, that they make, they choose to not want that. Yet, I find it interesting that the NFL made a new ruling, and it was just like, wow, they're gonna severely punish the team.
Yeah,
but
I mean, it's huge
that's the first point. But it's, I don't wish to see this, but what will make the most interesting component of this is, after the ruling, how does the team treat player A now? How do they view player A?
Well, that was going to be one of the things that I got to, because
but go ahead. I don't want to get into that.
No,
I don't want to jump ahead of the story, but just as a synopsis.
You make an excellent point there. So the key stories about COVID this offseason heading into tomorrow night's game is Cole Beasley has all offseason long has been leading the charge for players who are not interested in the vaccine. He has been the spokesperson saying, I am not doing it. It really should not. He feels like they should not be punished for not getting the vaccine. It should be a choice. But we got to keep everybody safe. That's the same thing outside of the NFL as it is inside the NFL. You have all the freedoms in the world until your freedoms impede on other people's health and safety. And that's exactly what's going on here. So, like you said, the NFL comes out with a ruling. But I think even more to the ruling of them making the decision on whether to mandate vaccines or not. And if you do have the choice, what are the punishments and what are the guidelines to come along with them? We have those set up in place already. But then on top of that, the NFL and the NFLPA has come together and said, hey, you cannot penalize players for not getting the vaccine by cutting them off of your roster. And we have gotten our first taste of that because Urban Meyer, after the final cuts, that's air quotes there for you guys again, I explained it last week. It's not truly final cut day, but the last roster cut, big roster cut before the whole shuffle of players happened last Tuesday. And Urban Meyer, after they released their last 53-man roster, he comes out and says, hey, yeah, we did take vaccination status into account when making our roster cuts, which under NFL and NFLPA rules is illegal. But it's clear as day he's not the only person who's done it. I mean, Bill Belichick definitely had to take that into account with the guys that are on his roster.
Right.
And just like, you can't tell me that Cam Newton was only cut because he just wasn't good enough to beat out Mac Jones. He's still a fantastic backup nonetheless anyway. And yes, he has the whole vaccination issue. So what are we going to do? He's just becoming more and more of a liability. Is he going to be able to take that next role? Yeah, it's a part of the whole reason as to why they would or would not cut a person. And that goes for everybody in the league. I'm not just calling out Urban Meyer. The only reason why I use his name is because he's the only one who admitted to it. So NFLPA is now going to do an investigation into them and their findings and figure out if there needs to be any punishment there. I'll be surprised if they don't get another fine. I mean, they're probably the most fined team all offseason so far. They've been getting hit left and right with the fine.
Money to burn.
Yeah. But then also, you've got players like Kirk Cousins, Carson Wentz, again, Cam Newton, all are also voicing their issues with the vaccination. And then we're talking about, well, are these guys going, specifically with Kirk Cousins and Carson Wentz, rather, they might be at a high risk for, as we were saying before we get to what we were saying before, they might be at a high risk themselves of missing games, but then also causing an outbreak in their own locker rooms and having to forfeit a game. So there's a lot of stuff that could happen here. That I think Tennessee already had another outbreak.
Understanding what this forfeited game the ramifications of this. I mean, it's not just on face value. It's like, oh man, they got a loss. No, game checks are not getting passed out.
Yeah.
You know, that's what I'm trying to say. I'm like, this can get dangerous because I mean, on a personal level, like that's why I was like, player A needs to really be careful. If that's, taking the example, Cole Beasley, like I don't think you could take on the locker room, sir, by yourself.
I get you. And
I'm telling you, that's a lot of money.
And I think that's one of the reasons why the NFLPA agreed to it, because there's going to be a lot of self-policing when it comes to these locker rooms. Now, granted, not everybody's going to be smart enough to do the right thing, whether that is getting the vaccination or maintaining social distancing, wearing your mask wherever you need to in the facility. By the way, you should be wearing your mask regardless right now if you're vaccinated or not. These different variants are ravaging our country right now, so just keep yourself safe, keep your family safe. Let's all be on the up and up there. But when it comes to the NFL, there might be guys, hey, you everybody in this circle is vaccinated, so we're all around talking around, and then all of a sudden Cole Beasley walks into the room. He's got his mask on. Is he going to be accosted? Is he going to be a little bit of an outlier in that Buffalo locker room? Like, what's going on there? I don't expect that to happen. I'm not suspecting that of happening already anyway. I think that there is still such a brotherhood, but I mean, at the end of the day, you go out to practice, you go as hard as you can in practice, getting better, doing whatever you can. You come back into the locker room, everybody's in this group talking. You still haven't had the opportunity to put your mask back on yet. One sneeze, one cough, one word out of your mouth, and you potentially have caused an outbreak in your locker room. So I think that, like you said, there's a ton of ramifications if you do if there is an outbreak. Right. If it does cost the game to be postponed in any way where it can't be played in a timely fashion, or it can't be moved to a date where possibly they could get the game. I am going to assume we're going to see another Tuesday, another Wednesday game this season, because I do think the NFL will do whatever they can to move a game before they have to cause the forfeit and whatnot.
I agree. To take it a step further, the NFL really, I don't think it was said enough. Contextually now, I don't think it was said enough a year ago. But the NFL really just flipped the bill, and they paid the players regardless. They gave them the option to opt out for the season.
Yep.
No penalty free. They were very accommodating to this, and for the most part, it was a success. Vaccination comes out where you're removed, and now the NFL, I think, got smart on this one in the sense of this ruling. To me, this is how I read this. They're gonna find a way, like, well, you know what? We're not going to pay to flip the bill again like this. That's over with. With that being said, they devised a rule where we're gonna turn this situation on y'all self. Let you all deal with this. But this is
self-policing.
Yeah, that's what I'm getting at. And now, you know what? Y'all figure it out since some people want to vaccinate, some people don't want to vaccinate. But in this situation, then we got to move this game, and then we got to do this.
Mm-hmm.
I think the NFL was just like, we're not putting ourselves in this situation another year and just taking 100% responsibility for whatever happens in the league.
Mm-hmm.
No, the responsibility is being put on the players now. So, and now it's going to be, like you said, self-policing from team by team, and then it's going to go from team to locker room by locker room, and then it's really going to get very personal. If it gets to a point of forfeiting, and like I said, when game checks stop coming in, and I ain't talking about Kirk Cousins didn't get his get his whatever his, I'm just gonna throw out a number,
his exorbitant
$16 million payday, whatever the ungodly number, I don't know, 374 million, whatever he gets for the season. I don't even know. I know I'm giving the wrong number, but it's ungodly.
Yeah.
Okay, he don't get that. I don't think that's gonna hurt him. But for the guy who, 800,000.
Yeah. The guy at the bottom of the roster, number 53.
Got the family pulling at him. He got his own personal family.
100%.
Trying to put his kids through school, blah, blah, blah. The wife, the in-laws, all
everything.
that. Yeah. Oh, I'm not getting my check? Oh, we're going to have a problem. Because, and already these are players who on a one-year deal, or on a 1 year with an option, and this is hurting my option because I'm not playing and I can't.
I can't put anything on tape.
This is interesting.
No, you're right. This brings up a very, very interesting point. And this is why I said COVID really could become a bigger issue in 2021 than we ever thought it could have been when we went into the season back in 2022 or 2020 rather.
Right.
So when I was just kind of previewing this week and I was looking at some of the key matchups and everything like that, it just kept dawning on me, especially now that Zach Martin, he's right guard for Tampa, for Dallas.
Mm-hmm.
He ended up getting COVID. Just that kind of sparked my thought process. Like, well, is this COVID's still obviously a huge issue in the United States, and how is that going to affect this season? We're going to have fans back in the stands this year. We're going to have packed crowds. I don't think there's going to be any disputing that. We're going to have sold out stadiums. This very first game tomorrow night, that thing is completely sold out. There's no way people are not coming to watch that. I mean, in week 4, we've got Tampa going up against New England. I'm sure that one's sold out already. Like, there's no way that we're not going to have COVID pop up in instances here and there.
Mm-hmm.
The real question is how do the teams respond? How quickly can they contain it this year? And how quickly can they flip things around to get back at practice, be back on the field, get back for their game, whatever the case may be, get that one person quarantined away, or that position group, or that one player, whoever it is, get them quarantined away so that they're not spreading it. And what happens if there is another Tennessee outbreak? I'm saying Tennessee because they were the example of last year. They had 2 outbreaks. Whereas that could be any team this year. On top of the fact that we've got teams that are completely displaced right now in New Orleans, who is practicing in Texas and has to play a game in Jacksonville this week. That was supposed to be their home game because of a horrific hurricane that came through, Hurricane Ida, just last week, 2 weeks ago.
So let's send them to the hottest state in the country that's dealing with COVID.
Exactly. There's so many questions there, and how these teams are going to respond. So like you said, the self-policing is going to be a huge thing. I don't think that there's any way, with the amount of pressure that's going to be on players this year, to take care of themselves and to make sure that they are not the ones that cause any outbreaks and whatnot. There's going to be so much pressure on them that even with that, I don't believe that we're going to completely dodge a COVID bullet this year. There's going to be a couple of casualties. I'm praying that we don't ever have to see a forfeited game, because I do truly feel sad for those guys that are 45 to 53 on these rosters that aren't making really too much more money than most of us in the U.S.
Right.
So that there are those guys that I would feel bad for, because they would have no way of contributing or changing the tide, because they don't have too much of a voice in the locker room as it stands right now. What's going to give them a voice when Cole Beasley causes an outbreak, or Kirk Cousins does, or Carson Wentz, whoever it may be?
Now, yes, and to be fair, anyone.
Anyway, I'm just talking about these are the biggest names that are not vaccinated.
And they're not vaccinated, but yeah, people that are vaccinated are catching it. Chris Paul. What's going on, Chris Paul?
Zach Martin's vaccinated, and he got it.
Tannehill.
Yep.
It's like, we the list goes endless. But yeah, it's just, man. But this presidents of this rule states, but non-vaccinated, they are dropping the hammer. And it's like,
well, they're trying to take every precaution, and I applaud the NFL for taking such a stark stance on it, because for years and years and years, NFL was like, nope, we're gonna stay in that gray area as much as we possibly can. We're not left or right. Like clearly, you've got 30 white men that are 70 plus that are owners in the NFL.
Right.
Come on, we know where your values lie. Not saying being conservative is a bad thing. We know.
Right.
Let's not try to hide it. Let's embrace it, but let's do the right thing for the players. Let's do the right things for the fans. Let's do the right thing for the product of the game. I mean, at the end of the day, it's a business.
And that's what I'm saying, for the league. And it's just uniformity. I mean, like, I don't want to get on this whole COVID kick. I know you were saying that, on the air about a week or so ago, like, it's not political. It's not supposed to be.
Yeah, this is not a red or blue thing. Protect yourself, protect your family.
It's like, yeah, you got your opinions, but leave all the politics out of this. Bottom line, this is a medical issue.
Exactly.
Period. You don't want to get vaccinated, stay home. That's what it would come down to.
Wear your mask, social distance.
Either you want to play in a league or you don't want to play in a league. And it's getting to the point where it's like, from a safety, from a medical and a safety standpoint, the point is to try to, as much as possible, normalize this where COVID is not an issue anymore.
Yeah.
And this whole this big push for just independence and autonomy is just ridiculous, because I'm like, man, people getting it left and right around me, but it's not me. And who is anybody to tell me what I can and can't do? And why did that become a thing? It's if now every single October or November, flu shots come out, and you don't even bat an eyelash. You're the first in line. No questions asked.
Yeah.
What the hell is in that stuff? I'm just making a point. It's a different strand every single time, but no one questions.
There's a ton of questions about it, but it's
the
also
absurdity of this top, of
the whole narrative.
COVID has been dealt with.
Yes, and I think that's a proponent to what we were going through last year. It's an election year, a very controversial election.
Fake news, all this other nonsense.
All trying to win over some segment of the U.S. population, dividing the country more than uniting it, in a time where people are dying. Let's really put things in perspective. Right. People are dying. We are losing fellow Americans. We are losing people that are neighbors, fathers, mothers, grandfathers, grandchildren. Like, we are losing family here. And
right. And unfortunately, I mean, it's getting to the point of really asking the NFL as a whole, not every, just the masses. Does it take a definite an NFL player to get somebody to wake up and say, "Oh, that can be me"? You know how they out there killing themselves on the field. I'm gonna tear his head off. Then the guy don't get up. All of a sudden, hung heads. Everybody's concerned.
Yeah,
3 big, swollen, muscle-bound dudes with a tear in their eye. All of a sudden, I'm like, wait a minute. Did you realize how hard you just hit this dude 4 plays ago, and you didn't think nothing of it because he got up?
Yeah.
And then once the injury come, now all of a sudden, I'm sorry, NFL, the hypocrisy when it comes to health.
Yeah.
It's just that the health issue is, but this COVID thing it's been a health issue for the country. But the NFL, like I said, I like the stance that they took because they drew a line in the stand this time. Yeah. So
for sure.
Yeah.
So, that's all I really had to say about it, because COVID, I think, like I said again, could become a bigger topic this year in the NFL than it even beyond what it was last year.
It's scaring me because I'm looking. I have a really good fantasy team, and I don't need this.
By the way, yes, we did just have a fantasy. You've done fantasy drafts over the last 2-3 weeks. We did just have our collective one together, and I just had my last one last night. So,
so we're all wrapped up.
We're all wrapped up for fantasy draft talk. We will bring that back up later.
But yeah, I mean, anyway,
anybody in my other league back in Chicago, definitely watch out. I'm coming for you. I'm coming for that prize. You guys messed up letting me build that team. But let's talk about the sports books really quickly here before we move on. There were some interesting lines that came out. I mainly want to talk about the season awards and odds here. I want to get who you think is going to win these awards at the end of the year. I got 4 awards. Okay. And then I'm going to tell you the odds of those awards. You get to make your pick, and then I'm going to tell you who ESPN thinks are going to win these awards. Okay. So let's start with head coach of the year.
Head coach.
We've got 6 options that. Caesar Sportsbooks. These are the top 6. These are the top 6 from FanDuel. Okay. Starting out with the LA Chargers, Brandon Staley. He is at a plus 1,300 to win the award. Brian Flores out of Miami. He is a plus 1,400 along with Arthur Smith of Atlanta. At plus 1,600, we have Kyle Shanahan in San Francisco. At plus 1,700, we have Sean McDermott with Buffalo. And Sean McVay rounds out the top 6 with the LA Rams at plus 1,800. Where are you taking let's start with who you think who's going to win the award, and which one do you think has the best value if you are going to make that bet at FanDuel?
Oh boy, you just threw out a bunch of numbers at me, and they're not in my face.
Let's start with the first question. Who do you think out of those 6 is likely enough, or even out of those top 6, who do you think is going to win head coach of the year this year? Who do you think has the really good opportunity to snatch that award?
Really good candidates. a lot of. Oh my gosh, who do I pick? I mean, just giving it in a vacuum like you just did. I'm gonna have to lean towards Sean McDermott in Buffalo.
Think he's gonna get it again?
I do like McVay and with the Rams. However, I still, all signs point to everything is great, but we have not seen him play on the field yet. And I'm just like, it's just that little.
Yeah.
You're like, well, I just don't take pause. I don't want to look foolish.
All right.
I don't want to drink. I don't want to look foolish like drinking a Kool-Aid. You're like, I drunk it a long way. Everybody else, and then I was wrong. When this is my disclaimer. I already had just a slight pause. Like, I don't know. And I'm factoring that division. I'm not gonna take that lightly. That's
a tough division,
which could possibly bolster his chances of winning anyway. Yeah. It's just. So yeah,
I think Sean if they win whoever wins the division will have a good argument for winning the award, regardless of who else outside of there. I think it's going to be other person in the NFL and the winner of the NFC West are going to be the ones competing for that award.
But I'm gonna throw this out. Now. I'm gonna throw out my little homer thing, and then we can get back to this. Just my only thing, just for Coach of the Year. I'm throwing this out there. If some kind of way, Coach Matt Nagy finds a way to do a couple things. One, find a successful transition of getting, Justin Fields acclimated to the offense sometime this season and have success, make the playoffs and win a playoff game. I am all in that Matt Nagy should be the Coach of the Year. If those,
yeah, for a lot of people saying that Matt Nagy should be on the hot seat this year,
right?
I really think people need to go back and watch what this man has done with the rosters that he's had. I mean, offensively, obviously, we've had one of the best defenses in the NFL for the last quite a while. I'm not even going to put a number of years on it. We've had a great defense for a while now. But the just absolute horrid play at quarterback in absolutely putrid offensive line that we've had of late and for quite some time now, for you to be in the playoffs 2 out of 3 years, win the division one time, and should have won one game against Philadelphia for sure. My fantasy football team name is right in the heart on that one. Then you also have a well-fought first half against the Saints just last year before the doors got blown off in the second half. So, I mean, he's definitely, coaching-wise, has done a fantastic job, in my opinion. Outside of that, I think there obviously is room for improvement. But I agree with you. Definitely, he could be in talks, especially if that transition happens and that with Andy Dalton and Justin Fields, that happens very smoothly and kind of seamlessly, where they don't skip a beat and then they kind of propel themselves into playoff contention, into a wild card spot, into contention in the division even. That really will kind of help, like you said, propel him into the talks of head coach of the year. My two favorites are to win this award, head coach of the year. Brandon Staley out of LA, the Chargers. I love what they've got going on with LA. I know everybody's talking about Sean McVay and the Rams for sure. And I understand with Buffalo. I just think that if they don't match what they did last year, people aren't going to see it the same. They're going to see it as a regression, even though we have an extra game and even though the AFC is freaking loaded. Right. But if Brandon Staley can come in, keep Justin Herbert on that upwards trajectory, and then get this team into a playoff spot, and possibly even if they just fight very well in that game, and still, even if they lose it, but it's a close game, a one-score game where they have a chance at winning it, Brandon Staley will have a very, very good reason as to make his case to win that award. And then the other one is the other team in the NFC West that I think that team will have a good shot at making the playoffs and winning this division. Kyle Shanahan of San Francisco.
Okay.
Dealing with the whole 2-quarterback system that they've got going on right now, getting that defense back and making sure that offense hopefully can stay healthy. And if he continues to allow his run game to dominate, I think that Kyle Shanahan will definitely be in talks if they win the division. I think the NFC West comes down to who wins the division. That's going to be the head coach that's going to be in contention for coach of the year.
So, I think that very good take and point made. What I'm interpreting from all of this is we have a consensus that it would not be Brian Flores in Miami.
No, I don't think so, because even if he wasn't able to win it off of what he did last year, he's not winning it this year.
And that's why I brought that up, which makes it interesting. It's like, how did he even make the list? Like, just like outside of me coming up with like a Matt Nagy type scenario, it's like, why would why was him out of all the other coaches? Why not Belichick for bounce back?
Why not Andy Reid?
I was about to get. I was going to circle the whole rag, and I'm like, Andy Reid. I mean, why didn't he win last year?
Yeah, I get that. I'm in total agreement with you. I don't. I mean, I like Brian Flores. I think he is obviously hands down the best. Coming from the Belichick tree, he's the best head coach out of all of those guys. It's been quite a few, and he's the only one who's kind of sprouted outside of obviously Nick Saban thriving in the college football ranks.
Right.
But Brian Flores, he's really turned around this franchise. I think they have a very large looming cloud over them right now, and this is kind of a media thing in the first place, where Tua has very, very much so has a lot of questions about him.
Mm-hmm.
Plus, they clearly are trying to make a play still for Deshaun Watson if his legal litigation stuff gets figured out. So they clearly are still not sold on him. So there is some. Like I said, there's a cloud looming over Miami right now.
Someone's trying to say that. I mean, trying to really get job security here is what that is.
Yeah.
They can land him. Oh, I should
Don't
be
worry
good
about
for
anything.
the next 8, 6, 7, 8 years.
You put Deshaun Watson on this team, again, barring all of his legal stuff. This is football only.
Right.
You put him in his talent on this roster. This team is, man. That's another team.
Just
that is
another
literally
one, like, it's move aside, Indianapolis.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm saying that respectfully. Like, geez, it just, man, yeah.
AFC is stacked this year. I can't wait.
Man, it's like the NBA, man, the Western Conference of the NBA.
Honestly, right now.
Good Lord. Like, every matchup is murderer's row. Why? Because I'm playing an AFC team. Anybody outside of Houston.
Right, let's move on to some other awards here. Let's do two together right here.
Okay.
Offensive rookie and defensive rookie of the year here. Let's start with offensive rookie of the year. We've got basically 5 of the 5 quarterbacks that were taken in the first round and Najee Harris. So Trevor Lawrence, Mac Jones, Justin Fields, Trey Lance, Zach Wilson. Najee Harris are the top 6 in odds to win it. Najee Harris rounds out the list at a plus 900. Trevor Lawrence leads the list at a plus 400. Whereas on the defensive side, we've got guys like Micah Parsons leading the pack, Jamin Davis, Patrick Surtain, JOK, Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah is in this list, Jalen Phillips, and I'm going to just come out and say it. My sneaky pick for defensive rookie of the year is going to be Kwity Paye. Him over there in Indy right now. That's because I think for defensive rookie, it's gonna have to come down to a guy that's on a good defense already, that can come in, plug and play, and just do his job. Just come out, play downhill football, make some plays. I think he has the best situation to do that.
I'm gonna swing for the fences here, just because it's defense, and defense is it's weird like that. I'm gonna go with Patrick Surtain in Denver.
The only
is he in Denver? No, I'm sorry. Oh yeah, that's right. No, wait, hold on.
Patrick Surtain, I believe, is in Denver.
Was it the one in Carolina?
No, Carolina.
Oh, I got the guy. I'm getting these guys.
J.C. Horn.
J.C. Horn. Never mind. Yeah, right. Okay, in Denver, I had it right. Yes. I think Denver is just a very solid defense. Unfortunately, just that offense has been so dismal. But Teddy Bridgewater's there. Not
we'll
here to talk about the power rankings. I think that just balances it out a little bit. But with that, like I said, I think he's a sneaky pick. That's all.
My only thing is that he's buried on that defensive back depth chart. Like there's so many defensive backs out there in Denver. I don't know. He's listed as what 3, 4 on their depth chart right now.
I believe so. But remember our first take in this in tonight's recording. There's COVID out there.
True.
I'm just saying. I think he's going to get his opportunity somewhere.
I'm not saying that. I'm definitely expecting us to see Patrick Surtain. We're going to see him this year for sure. That's without question.
A sneaky pick. Yeah. Now, I could have easily been like, Micah Parsons. No doubt. And I just, if he gets it, Okay, I kind of
who is ESPN's pick is Micah Parsons to get it out there in Dallas. But I would take, even at linebacker, I would take Kwity Paye over him because that's a good defense already, and he's got a spot there to come out in there and just play.
I like that pick, but I don't want to take
at plus 1,000.
But you already took him.
You put down $100, you get $1,000 back. I'm putting down. I would say this right now. If I'm gonna give you any gambling advice, if you want to make any pick based off, this is the only one that I'm like quite honestly, very certain of. I think Kwity Paye is winning Defensive Rookie of the Year just based off of what his situation is in Indy.
That's fine. I mean, you already know I was already big on him just in the draft.
Yeah, you were.
And the Giants decided to,
muck it up,
and help out Chicago in the process. So I'm like, hey,
yeah,
who am I to get in y'all way? That's why y'all are a train wreck at the back end of the league right now. Still talking about Daniel Jones while we're over here talking about these 5 studs right now.
Honestly,
like, yeah, y'all missed y'all missed y'all window.
Yeah, I just think Kwity Paye has at plus 1,000. That's just that's insane odds to give up on a guy who literally just has to come in and play downhill football on the defensive side.
True.
He doesn't have to worry about messing up. I mean, like, he's got guys on the back end that are covering his butt.
I would say I think he has the most upside for getting this award, and that's fine. I can't argue that. Like I said, that's why I kept prefacing. I'm just going with
I think my passion for Kwity Paye comes off of the odds that he has, because Patrick Surtain is at a plus 750 as compared to plus 1,000 for Kwity Paye. Okay. It's like Patrick Surtain, okay, he's going to have to wait a few weeks before he can get in. He's going to have to wait for a little bit of a COVID outbreak to crack that starting lineup first, right. Being buried with those defensive backs over there in Denver. Whereas Kwity Paye is like, all right, I'm sitting behind one dude. I'm definitely going to be playing week 1, like bar none. I'm going to get my reps, and all I have to do is come in and play downhill. I mean, both of them really only have to come down and play downhill. These are 2 great defenses, I will admit. It's just a matter of I just think Kwity Paye has a more complete defense as compared to Patrick Surtain, and where Patrick Surtain is on that depth chart. But let's flip it over to the other side of the ball. Offensive Rookies of the Year.
Okay.
I really don't like.
Are these the only choices?
No, you can add in any choices that you want. These are the top 6 based off of FanDuel's odds to win it. So that's the reason why I have them on my list here. But these are just based off of what FanDuel has chosen.
Okay. We can keep it to that. I'm just fine.
No. If you have somebody on offense that you want to add in here, please go ahead. If you think there's a guy that you truly do think offensive rookie wise could steal that award.
Am I up first?
Well, if you want to go ahead and look over the list, I'm going to say I think favorite to win it is going to be Mac Jones, based off of these are 2 guys that are, I mean, ESPN has Trevor Lawrence or Mac Jones at a plus 400, plus 450 respectively for each of those guys. Mac Jones I'm taking only because he's got a better situation. I mean, New England versus Jacksonville. Like, come on, like, it's not hard to pick between the 2 of those. My only concern with Mac Jones is based off of the running game in New England. Not completely sold. I know Harris he's a fine back, but he's really the only guy there. So I have my reservations there. Sneaky pick though would definitely be a Justin Fields coming in later on in the season. And only reason why I'm not going to say Zach Wilson has a chance is, again, his situation. New York Jets, sorry, you don't do it for me right now. You're a year away from being a year away.
Gotcha.
I
mean, if I'm taking the list, I see where you're coming with the Mac Jones. It all makes sense. However, I think this could be the beginning of a turn, and which will make me lean a little bit at this point toward Trevor Lawrence. Just
usually fair.
I'm trusting Urban Meyer to
it's a tough thing to do.
Trusting him to protect his quarterback. So that's all I'm saying. if nothing else, I think he's going to protect him.
Urban Meyer, those are big words coming out of him.
Yeah.
Not many people do trust you.
No, they don't. But in this context, I gotta trust the man to not sit here and kill his own career.
True.
As well as the front and,
I'm
take
not
down the
saying
franchise.
that's a possibility. I just think it's Jacksonville. They don't really have too many other weapons to get. I will say, out of anything that I've seen, Bill Belichick's offseason this past year showed me he's going all in. Like I'm not missing the playoffs again. Is the type of move he was trying to make. Now, will that come to fruition? I don't know. I'm not that high on Mac Jones. I just think he has the most weapons. He's got a very good offensive line in front of him. He's protected, and he's looked good this preseason. But again, it's preseason. But I just need to see him when you're looking at it in a vacuum. Trevor Lawrence is getting blown up this preseason already in the preseason. Whereas Mac Jones, he was able to step up in the pocket and make throws and actually make his reads. So I just think he's going to have a more comfortable situation. He seems like he's got a good hold of the game and kind of making those reads and understanding his playbook. So with that being the case, I think Mac Jones does have just a slight edge over Trevor Lawrence based off of the situation. But I guess we both agree Najee Harris and that Pittsburgh offense is not winning Offensive Rookie of the Year this year.
I don't see it.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that he can't have a good year. I just don't think he's going to have to be the Rookie of the Year.
I don't think he's going to be able to put up the numbers to even go up against Justin Fields for that award, based off of the fact that offensive line is just not good.
And again, look at the division he's playing in. It just is
stud defense after stud defense.
They're asking a lot. I mean, if he does it, I'm like, damn, he earned it.
Yeah, really. I agree with that statement.
I'm like, because I like, man, I'm like, I like you, but good. That's asking a lot out of a rookie.
I like you, but I'm trying to trade you as we speak. No, okay.
I'm sure to see what I can get for you. Playing with house money here, but
before your
I have
plummets.
A sneaky pick from a non-quarterback aspect. So I'll put my horse behind Trevor Lawrence. Just for now. I mean, I'm not even strong with that, but
go right ahead.
I mean, just because I don't necessarily think it's going to come from the quarterback position. No,
that's fine.
But I'm just taking it from the list. Yeah. I want to do the list first, but my sneaky offensive player of the year, Terrace Marshall Jr.
I knew I honestly I felt you were going this way because when you were looking through that list, I knew I kind of felt where you were going.
Yeah,
you took that pick off of me in the draft this past week.
Man, I'm like, you shed a little light on something. I'm like, and I just went deep sea diving ever since. And I'm like, I'm all team Terrence.
I told you he's one of the best wide receivers in the draft, and then all of a sudden I'm over here putting him in my queue in the draft this weekend, and boom! Right as soon as I click on his name, he's gone. I'm like, what the heck?
Don't waste your time. Don't waste your time. And I just missed him in my guillotine league, playing around in my head like, should I keep New Orleans defense? I guess I'm keeping New Orleans defense now because somebody just picked him up. I'm pissed.
Gotcha.
I just found out 15 minutes ago.
Understood.
Oh, God, and I needed a receiver. There's nobody left.
No, I like that pick. I think Terrence Marshall Jr. He's going to have quite the season. He's got a nice situation too. So out from a non-QB aspect, he definitely has a very, very good chance. I mean, I would put him in contention with Trevor Lawrence and Mac Jones to get that award. In all honesty, as it stands right now, I mean, even if we are saying we're opening it up to any offensive rookie.
Right.
He's definitely worth being on this list. So I 100% agree with you on that one.
Yeah, I wasn't going with the typical Jamar Chase, the Devontae. I mean, they're fine. I don't have a problem with that.
I don't like Devontae Smith's situation.
Yeah, that's
Jamar Chase. I also don't like that situation. I don't think he's gonna have a quarterback to
not
throw
for
the ball
the first
to
year. There's gonna be a lot of growing pains in those areas, and I mean, not that Carolina doesn't have that, but it seemed like Carolina really has stirred the ship last year to kind of position themselves to just kind of move forward this year. We're very little of a hitch, and they can just keep it moving.
I mean, you can get Terrence Marshall right now at a plus 6,000. That's a good return. That's a good ROI if you're looking for it. So,
interesting.
for all you degenerates out there. And let's wrap up this segment with the MVP award. Top 6 to win it are all QBs. I don't think, how long has it been since a non-QB won the MVP? We've got Patrick Mahomes leading the list here at plus 400, Aaron Rodgers plus 1,000, Tom Brady at plus 1,200, along with Josh Allen at the same odds. Rounding out the list are Dak Prescott and Russell Wilson, both at plus 1,700. Your take there, sir. MVP this year.
Now, taking that list, and applying it to this season. If the Chiefs are successful, I mean anything from I think 12-5 and up. No, I'm sorry, I have to say 13-4 and up.
Mm-hmm.
And based on if they win the key games, because they got like a murderer's row in the first 7 weeks, it's really like outside of like one game.
Yeah.
He can arguably just be running away with this thing by mid-season. That's one scenario. I don't know if that's going to happen because they have to actually win these games. Truth be told. I mean, I think they can, but I mean, damn, it's asking a lot out of a team to have to go and beat all of these teams consecutively just out the gate. But
yeah.
If there's a team that can do it, it will be this team.
Yep.
So that's one. Just because of the disrespect that that we have witnessed for now 9 going on 10 seasons, by far it should be Russell Wilson if he gets cooking this year. If Pete Carroll get out of this man's way and just let him do him.
And that's the that's the reason why I can't take Russell Wilson. I don't trust Pete Carroll.
That's why I had to give these caveats, these disclaimers as to why I'm saying these names, but I still haven't picked. However, if Buffalo play anywhere decently this year, and I've already seen it, it's already out there.
It's ESPN's pick.
That's what I'm saying. They are such home. I mean, just oh my God, they just like, man, y'all have just drank all the Kool-Aid on Josh Allen. Josh Allen, they got Buffalo beating Kansas City. They are already past them. They're the AFC champions this year. Like, based on what? What? Because you took your loss, you lick your wounds, and now you're back, and now we're just gonna beat y'all.
Well, they addressed their major need, and they added more weapons on offense. I get it. I don't agree. Don't look at me like that.
I'm ready to, because they never explain themselves. They just go with the picks and they just keep moving. I did have
the thought that Josh Allen before we had the way too early kind of MVP list come out and all that stuff. I did have Josh Allen on my short list to win MVP already. Just based off of the fact that they've improved the offense and they addressed the defensive woes as well with the pass rush. Those are the two biggest things that they had issues with.
And the sway, it's just if he looks good, it's just gonna sway the voters to be like.
Plus,
by far,
I think something that hasn't been taken into account enough. Last year was year 3 for Josh Allen. Mm-hmm. He's young. He's still just with Patrick Mahomes. They're still getting better. Mm-hmm. They're still like getting more information every game they play.
It's scary.
And that is going to be another one of my kind of stories of the year is we're having a kind of a changing of the guard as we speak. I mean, we kind of been talking about it, kind of beating around that bush for 3 years now about that. But we're really starting to see a lot more young studs in the league.
Right.
Compared to some still very great Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers, and even Russell Wilson for that matter, some older heads, Matthew Stafford, like out here playing fantastic football. They are, but we have a lot of young, just budding talent that is still learning and is still getting that experience to become that next wave. And it's fascinating to watch, I think. And I think that is one of the ways that if your team sucks this year and you're kind of out on the NFL, don't look at it from your team's perspective.
Right.
Start looking at it from look at these young guys, whether it is these quarterbacks or go ahead and you got younger quarterbacks, even than the guys that are in MVP talks as Justin Fields and Trevor Lawrence and Mac Jones, or a Najee Harris, or even from the defensive side of the ball, JOK, Patrick Surtain, Kwity Paye, Jalen Phillips, all these younger guys that are coming in here that are definitely are budding stars. TJ Watt, for that matter, and that is another storyline we need to talk about, with his contract not being solved just yet, if he's even going to be playing week 1. But that's another story for a different time.
2012, Adrian Peterson.
Gotcha. So yeah, it's been a while since the MVP award has gone to anything but a quarterback. But we have this little changing of the guard here. Now, back to the MVP talk specifically. Going back to what you started your argument off with Patrick Mahomes, if he can come in and the team does well, I don't even think it's about that. Just look at what Kansas City has done from losing, what is it, 36-9, whatever the score was.
I don't remember.
34-9, I think.
Never put it to memory. Doesn't matter.
That bad loss in the Super Bowl.
What loss?
with that situation that happened last year in February.
What situation? What are you talking about?
In how they responded this offseason. Let's go all in on fixing our number one issue in the offensive line. Let's move some stuff around and let's get some guys put into some better spots on the defensive side of the ball. I think they moved Chris Jones to the outside now. He's not a D tackle. He's a DN now. Possibly Tyrann Mathieu is playing at corner now, not safety. There's a lot of questions there. Maybe he's moving around. Maybe he's playing multiple positions. We don't know.
But he just came off COVID. But whatever.
That's great. I'm glad to see that he's back. But with that team as a whole, I think in CAH getting better, and taking over that number one role there. You got guys like Travis Kelce and Tyreek Hill and Mecole Hardman and Robinson and Pringle and just on and on that offensive side of the ball, all the weapons that they have. But to me, Callaway. I think Patrick Mahomes, and this is my take of the preseason, Patrick Mahomes is going to be Aaron Rodgers last year, a man on a mission. Not that he has anything to prove, not that he's looking for a new contract. No, I lost bad. I played fantastic, but our team didn't win. He is going to do everything he can to get this team another Super Bowl this year. And I think he's going to be doing all that he can in the regular season to show people, hey, we're not just that team you saw in that game that shall not be named.
Right.
That's not us. That is his. I think that's going to be his take this year. Travis Kelce has already come out on multiple shows and said he's pissed about it, and it's the number one thing on his mind. It still has a bad taste in his mouth. He still doesn't like thinking about it, but he's going to come in every day. He's going to make himself think about it, and he's going to work his ass off so that he can come back out here and absolutely decimate this entire league this year. If you've got Travis Kelce and you got Patrick Mahomes on your fantasy team, play them every week, because these guys are about to go insane this year. Like I said, I think it's going to be Aaron Rodgers last year, where he was just, oh, you think I'm washed? All right, let me just throw 4 touchdowns on you. Oh, you think I can't beat you in this star-studded defense? All right, let me put up 3 touchdowns passing and 1 touchdown rushing on you and throw for 560 yards. Patrick Mahomes has all the weapons to do that, plus an offensive line to be like, all right, I'm gonna just wait you guys out. We're gonna run all the crossing routes. You guys aren't going to be able to keep up with our speedsters. So what do I have to worry about?
Right.
He's just gonna go out there, play his game, and Andy Reid, I think, is also going to be out there to prove 2019 wasn't a fluke. Any thoughts on that?
No. While you were talking, I was paying attention. I was listening, but I was looking down the MVP list. It was very interesting. If you're not a quarterback or a running back, there's virtually no chance you're gonna make this list. There in the last, since 1972, there's only been one non-quarterback in running back as an MVP.
Wow.
And it was a kicker.
I do remember that.
I do not. I just don't.
It was a while ago.
But I wasn't never. But I'm also a person. I never really followed that. who won these awards. I don't really care.
Yeah.
I'm more to who won the Super Bowl.
True. I mean, that's what matters at the end of the day.
So it got me looking at some of the running backs. I'm like, okay, let me just get away from these quarterbacks for a second. And like, is there a possibility that a running back could actually win this thing in our modern era? Well, I will say this. I can't understand for the life of me, and I know you're not finna like this take. For the life of me, how did it not happen? How is it that Derrick Henry did not win this award last year?
That is a question, and I understand it.
I mean, no. I mean, it ain't much more either. You telling me running backs can't win an MVP? Because you can't get much better than what he did last year. And then I'm just saying, we were going back and forth about the Dalvin Cook thing. And I looked at Dalvin Cook's numbers, and I'm like I thought I remembered this properly. Not saying that Dalvin Cook had a very explosive and impactful element to his game last year, to the point where at the end of the day, when the smoke cleared, let me see the numbers. Like that looked good, but Derrick Henry's numbers were better, and that's all I was saying. But he's in Tennessee, and I mean, it wasn't a whole lot going on in Tennessee.
I think there's another thing that I think you need to take into account when it comes to the MVP award. It's not just, yes, you're the best at your position for sure. That has to be the number one thing. And if Derrick Henry is definitely in the conversation, he should have. I think he should have won running back of the year, if he didn't. And that's a whole other conversation. But it also has to come with winning football games. And
stop. See, this is why this award is. And I stopped you based on just you saying that alone. That's the problem. Then they should just say, you know what? All MVPs are only going to be the quarterbacks because they control the game. I'm like, that element has to come out because they're the only ones that are allowed to do that. No running back has just, we got Jim Brown. We're just gonna get Jim Brown the ball, and he's gonna carry us all the way to whatever championship we gonna.
I think because I do think a running back can still win. He just has to be on a team that is. You have to be closer to the number one seed. What were they, number 4 last year in their seeding? Tennessee.
Yes.
Yeah, they were number 4. They were 10-6, I believe, or 11-5 last year. So. They had some games plus they had the 2 COVID outbreaks. There was a lot of stuff floating around Tennessee. And again, these are all things that Derrick Henry overcame. So I do agree with you. He definitely should have been in the conversation last year for winning the MVP. But I think it's just a matter of the situation surrounding him that caused people to kind of divert their eyes from him and look over at Aaron Rodgers and what they did as a team. Rather than Derrick Henry in Tennessee.
And a lot of it just has to do with media bias, man. What's the hot stories? Exactly. And I get that. That's why I said, but we're talking about MVPs. I've already went on record saying MVP is nothing but a popularity contest, and I get that. And sometimes I think they get it right, and there's a lot of times they get it wrong. It's just
100%.
It's very biased. Yeah. So
that's why I like the player voted offensive and defensive player of the year awards. Yes. Those are the ones that I truly look at because that's saying, among my peers, I am the best.
Like it's basically it's set up now where if you're a wide receiver, there's no way in the world you would ever win because you'd be like, what if I call for 500 yards?
That means
think about
it.
Your quarterback threw for like 700.
Yeah,
then, so what are we talking about here? Exactly. It's just. Which at the same time makes me question, okay, if you're giving it to the quarterback, now, is there some variation in one of the receivers you had because that made you who you were as opposed, like a transcendent wide receiver? Like, yeah, that was Montana, but I only got to see it for really 1 year, or 2 years. Like, what was Montana like without Rice? Even though he did play a few years before he got there. He sustained success all throughout, which is why he's not a good example. But so I digress. But you know where I'm getting at.
Yeah. No, I get you. Where's the line between the wide receivers transcending the offense versus it's the quarterback causing you to have those numbers?
Like we seen it once, or you didn't see this. This might have been right before you. This was the first 3 Belichick championships titles when they won the Super Bowl, and Deion Branch won the MVP, and he was a wide receiver.
Yeah.
Which I even at the time I was like, he had a really good game. I was like, interesting, like, but because the whole time Tom Brady was throwing him the ball. So, and then we seen in other games like it wasn't a loss, but Randy Moss and he threw some other receivers or the way the Atlanta game, the Atlanta New England Super Bowl.
Julio Jones.
No. Tell me how in the world I'm Julio Jones. Possibly.
You're talking about how Tom Brady got it, but James White really should have.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you. Already knew where I was going with this. How in the world James White did not get the get the MVP?
I will say with that one, Tom Brady, and I respect Tom Brady for this because he came out and was basically like, "I'm gonna keep the trophy. You can get the truck though. Like you should have won this. Like this is yours."
Yeah, because it reminded me of the Deion Branch thing,
yeah.
And I was like, okay, this was. I mean, I think he had even a better game than Deion Branch, like because he was just unstoppable. Atlanta, oh. Yeah, and I've been down on Atlanta ever since. I'm done with them.
Yeah.
But moving on. But yeah, so it's man, I have so many candidates like where Dalvin Cook could be in this potentially. Christian McCaffrey could. Yeah,
I would think if there's any running back who's going to win it, it'd be between Christian McCaffrey and Derrick Henry.
Right.
Christian McCaffrey because he does both on the running and receiving game. He can crack that.
Right.
Whereas Derrick Henry, he's just a freaking beast. Like there's no other way to put that. Like
no, it ain't pretty necessarily. He ain't very boisterous. He just goes out there.
I will say that if they win, they would have to win bare minimum 12 games. But I honestly feel like Tennessee would have to win the division and him to put up the same numbers that he did last year. Then Derrick Henry's getting the award. Whereas,
that's right.
Whereas Patrick Mahomes, he just has to win 13 games and just go on a tear, put up 35 touchdowns, keep your interceptions below double digits, boom, MVP award. 4,500 yards, please, especially with the 17th game. But there, you got your MVP award. And you need to commandingly, but what you were saying earlier definitely does come into account. You have to win those key games in this stretch. The Clevelands, the Buffaloes, the Baltimores, like those games are going to be very important. They have to win them. Yeah. They have to win at least the majority of them. I don't know how many they have on their schedule as it stands, but if there's 4, if there's 5, 6, they've got to win 75% of them. Like they've really got to make it known that we are that team.
Yes. And as I'm looking at some of these running backs that were on the list, like Adrian Peterson, I'm trying to think like, okay, who was your quarterback at the time?
Was it? Who was?
I think I want to say Culpepper, but
I was gonna say Culpepper. I was like, was that Josh Freeman that year?
Could have been anybody. But then LaDainian Tomlinson won it in 2006. I don't remember who his quarterback was. I don't think it was at 2006. I don't know how many years you played. I have no idea. That's what I'm saying.
Pretty sure it was. I think it was early on, maybe year 1 or 2.
Maybe, and I'm saying maybe, and I'm not very sure about that. In 2005, it was Sean Alexander. I don't even remember. For the life of me, I cannot remember who their quarterback. Oh, it was Hasselbeck. In Seattle, but going back just a little bit further than 2000 was Marshall Faulk with St. Louis, but Kurt Warner was that was like greatest show on turf.
Yeah.
Kurt Warner got it the year after and the year before that.
Yeah, it was Phillip Rivers. 2004, he was drafted.
Okay.
I know my sports history.
Phillip Rivers, who cares?
Yeah.
Anyway, and I mean like Terrell Davis, and I mean downhill runner, and he had Elway, but it was in Elway's last year.
Yeah.
But I'm saying I translate that over to a Derrick Henry. I'm like, the game. It's a testament to how much the game has changed, and that's the thing. It's like I think it's almost virtually impossible for a running back to get it at this point, because and it's to a degree, a very diminished and devalued position. It's not in the hierarchy of value anymore. It's just it's almost used like a utility thing, a utility position. And anyway, the pendulum will swing yet again.
I don't think a wide receiver will ever win it ever again, but that's just me.
You said ever again. No, I was saying that was Super Bowl MVP. I was talking about just MVP.
They haven't ever won it.
No, none. It's just been quarterbacks and running backs. That's it. And now it's just been a run of just quarterbacks. So, saying all that to say, I was trying to entertain who could possibly get. I'm like, that is a really short list, but now I can move on. It's gonna be one of these quarterbacks.
Yeah, so, for sure.
I want to say just because they just they chomping at the bit so hard, I'm just gonna lean toward Josh Allen because that's just that's where
that's where the media is leaning already.
Yeah, that's what consensus is going.
Patrick Mahomes is gonna have to swing that pendulum back his way.
But I'm still gonna pull for Scrappy Doo over there for Russell Wilson.
I want it to happen. I will not.
Hold on, I don't want to put the cart before the horse. It will be an indictment on the NFL and whoever does, and you can tell me right now, who does the voting for the MVPs?
I think it is a media award.
Okay, to the media. This is an indictment. And if this happens this year, they should change the whole system. But it should be this. If Russell Wilson don't even get a vote.
Again.
That's the thing. That is more baffling than he not winning it.
The fact that
never gotten a freaking
Well, he got
vote.
his first vote last year.
He finally got one?
He got his first vote last year.
Okay.
Only the one, though.
Do we know who that was from?
I don't know.
So I can give shout out to you?
No, okay. I don't have that
information.
All right,
we can move on. But yeah, you don't find that utterly ridiculous?
Yeah, I've been championing that whole sentiment for years now.
I've known it, but I mean, when you say it out loud, it just becomes so real now. And it's like, what? So, it seems as long as Buffalo has success this year and be as successful as people are trying to, predict them to be, just be a strong playoff team. He should win the MVP. He should. But
I get that.
But he again, you got a Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah, I think Patrick Mahomes is just going to be a man on a mission.
And let me take this, and I'm taking Aaron Rodgers out of the equation right now. There's not going to be any back-to-back MVPs. I'm done. Just on that stat alone, I know people can rip me for that. However, go run the numbers. I'm looking at the list now. Oh, okay, Manny did do it, and
All right. That's fine. We don't need it.
No, I was just saying it has happened before, but.
I don't think it will either.
That's what I'm saying. In modern history, it's happened once.
With the way that it's voted on, you have to do better than you did last year, and it's already very hard to win the MVP award already. So you have to do more than what you did last year without having anybody come into contention with you. That's almost impossible to do.